how do you feel about using Matcherino to pay production? That's an interesting thought. Having an actual, because, well, you wouldn't do a Matcherino. You would just basically say, hi, donate to production, please. We would basically be doing a telethon, right? We would be like, please, ladies and gentlemen, the production here, they work tirelessly all day. It's from noon all the way till 3 a.m. every day that they're running these tournaments. And you can help alleviate the pressure and stress that they go through. All you have to do is call that number on your screen, donate even anywhere from $5 to $10 to $20, and you can help your fellow production feel like their work is appreciated. That's all it takes. Again, pick up the phone, dial that number on your screen, have a credit card ready in your hand, and that will help them tremendously. Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. Welcome to It Was Tuesday with your host, James Chen, aka J. Chenzor. Today, we've got some interesting topics to talk about here. As you can see over here, we're going to talk a little bit about the TO conundrum prompted by the CEOtaku discussion recently that's been going around the internet. We're going to talk about, again, a tweet that I wrote, and just, you know, some people had, I mean, this one wasn't that big of a deal, but I just wanted to talk about this. And then actually I wanted to talk about Street Fighter 6 in its third month. And just kind of, I remember after the game came out for a month, I did like a tier list and all this stuff and what my opinion on things are. So we're just going to keep, doing that. So, oh, sorry about that, Douglas. Let's do it. How's everybody going out there? Hope you all doing well. Let's do this. So let's talk about the TO conundrum over here. So I've been seeing this largely due to CEOtaku and coming from Tong Never Sleeps and Jebailey here. So let me actually see if I can pull up their tweets over here because let's see, Tong Never Sleeps. Because I mostly got it from them, basically. Like, I've been getting kind of secondhand discussion from them a little bit. But he was apparently... So, CEOtaku's coming up in a few weeks. And the tournament was obviously... meant to be kind of an anime game tournament, right? Kind of like a Frosty Faustings, kind of like a tournament more dedicated towards the ArcSys anime kind of games. However, we should start talking about this tweet I wrote. Yeah, basically. But this year for CEOtaku, they are going to have Mortal Kombat 1, as well as Street Fighter 6. And they're adding a whole entire stream dedicated to the non-anime games. So basically someone's done the calculations and, the anime games aren't losing any stream time. Certain games are losing some stream time, in favor of other anime games and such. But, a lot of people seem to be, judging from Jebailey and Tong's tweets, that some people are actually kind of upset about the fact that they've included non-anime games into CEOtaku, because that was kind of the point of the actual tournament. Right, Ace King Offsuit was the one who did the calculations, and since you linked it for me here, Blue, I might as well read it. So... yeah, so Ace King Offsuit did some napkin math about CEOtaku streams. There are 14 games of the 2023 lineup that were in 2022. 9 of those 14 games are getting more stream time this year than they got last year, and 2 others are getting the same amount. Only 3 are getting less time than last year. So what happened was that it seems like a lot of people are mad because now CEOtaku is including non-anime games. So what happened to our anime-based major? And yeah, exactly. So Gundam Jehudi Kai says basically, I think a lot of the kickback was simply because CEOtaku was meant to be for smaller non-anime games. So there's two sides of this, right? So first of all, let's talk about the TO side of this thing, right? I've often said tournament organizers are the least appreciated people in the fighting game community because they get the most flack and people complain to them about everything and they're super evil with any decisions that they make with fighting game tournaments, etc., etc. Guys like, dude, Baron Spaghetti says they work so hard and so many logistics to deal with. And the worst thing about it is somehow people have it on their mind that TOs make money from their events. And this is where I feel like a large part of the misunderstanding comes from, that people seem to think that tournaments actually make money when most of the time people are losing money. When you actually tell people that Combo Breaker and CEO lost money this year, people are like, no way, they didn't lose money. Like, it's crazy how often you see people get surprised by the fact that these tournaments lose money. On top of that, Jebailey showed a bill for the internet that was like $56,000 or something like that for a weekend of internet, and he said that's on the lower end of costs, and I can verify that that is definitely true. Like, I still remember the one time I asked someone on Shoryuken.com way back in the forums day, I was like, how much do you think the internet costs for Evo for the weekend? And the guy was like, well, my internet is like $60 for like a month. So I imagine for their weekend it would be like $200. Or she said something like that. And I was like, are you absolutely shitting me? Like, do you not know how the world works at all in any way, shape, or form, or any capacity at all? Like, I don't understand why people don't realize that running tournaments is bloody expensive. And so, running CEO, they lost money this year. And now they're running CEOtaku, which is going to lose money for them most likely again. A lot of these TOs are kind of doing it for love. And, I'm not going to say that Jebailey has only lost money. Before the pandemic, there were years where he did tell me that CEO actually made a profit. But you know what happens to that profit? It goes into CEO the next year. It literally goes into he doesn't pocket it. He saves it for the next year so that he can run the next year's tournament. Like, anytime a tournament makes money, you very rarely get to like pocket that and keep that and go like, now that I have successfully gained a profit from my tournament, I can finally buy my yacht. Like, that's not happening over here with people running TOs running events. Like I said, if they actually make any money, most likely they are actually, this is a perfect transition between last week's major discussion. But they're not making any money, and it's only kind of got more expensive thanks to the pandemic. And a lot of TOs lost money during the pandemic because they have contracts for a few years and they weren't able to uphold the contracts because no one was flying out. So I don't know the details, but I imagine there were some penalties incurred, like when Rick, aka the Hado, who runs Combo Breaker, had it all set in the new venue the first year of the pandemic, and then he had to cancel the event at the last second. And I don't know if the pandemic actually triggered the force majeure clause, which is an act of God, basically, ruining your event so you can't actually run the event. And so the venues can't hold you to that. And I know for a lot of tournaments that the force majeure clause actually didn't kick in for a lot of them. So they still had to pay a lot of money. Right, yeah. Blue says, I remember when COVID was starting, Jebailey said if he canceled CEO Dreamland that same weekend, CEO would have been done. Exactly. You just would have lost all that money because there was no force majeure clause that could actually kick in and save him from that money, from losing all that money. So, again, the TOs are losing a lot of money on these things, right? They're spending a gobsmack of money out there. And it's not easy to run events like this at all, in any way, shape, or form. And so if you have a situation where you're running CEOtaku and you want to make it so that it's more focused on the anime games, and et cetera, if you exclude games, I mean, they had Street Fighter V, I think the previous year or something. They've had non-anime games there, but I think the big deal now is that MK1 and Street Fighter VI are so, like, predicted to be so big that they're afraid that they're going to outshine the anime games at the events. And, you know, while that is a valid concern, we'll get to that side of it in just a little bit. The thing about it is, if CEOtaku does not include these games to promote your smaller anime games, so like you love this event because it promotes and highlights these smaller games, if they don't put Street Fighter 6 and Mortal Kombat into the tournament, you won't have the tournament anymore at all. This is something that you have to understand. Like, right, Street Fighter V and Tekken 7, okay, they were side games. Okay. But, you know, if you do not include something like Street Fighter 6 and Mortal Kombat, you won't have CEOtaku anymore. You won't have the tournament that helped. I mean, Frosty Faustings, for example, they always focus on Guilty Gear and stuff, but they still run the main titles like Street Fighter 6, et cetera. They have to do it as well, right? All these events have to look out for themselves to make sure that they don't just literally kill themselves, right? And so you kind of have to look at it from that perspective here. If you want this event called CEOtaku, which does try to highlight all the anime games out there, and you say, don't run Street Fighter 6 and Mortal Kombat 1, that's getting in our way, that's hogging our limelight, that's taking up our space and our time and our front stageness, you're not going to have CEOtaku anymore at all. It's just going to be too expensive. JP in the chat says here, you know, people forgot about the big hit that CEO took this year in attendees, which was out of the TO's control. Yeah, big E events I'm really, really sad that those are going away as well. Someone asked me, what event did Big E run? No, wrong question. It's what events, aka Fall Classic, April Annihilation, Summer Jam, and NEC. I know I'm missing one more out there, but he ran a bunch of events. But yeah, so CEO lost Jebailey a lot of money. He's got to find a way to Winter Heat. Okay, there you go. He needs to find a way to make it so that CEOtaku actually can not put him so far into the red that he's in trouble here. Winter Heat. Oh yeah, Winter Brawl. Yeah. I said Winter Brawl, didn't I? I did say Winter Brawl. Yeah. So that's the thing that we have to look at here, right? Do we just say, you know, like, there just needs to be more empathy towards TOs, okay? That's all I'm trying to get to. That's the crux of this whole entire thing that I'm trying to get to. We need more empathy for the TOs because they are doing such a thankless job. People don't realize that they are putting themselves through undue stress. Whenever they run an event like this, they are going into the red, hoping all the registration money, etc., all that stuff like that helps actually make them break even. In other words, they're just going into debt hoping that an event can survive. Even back when Evo, before the Street Fighter 4 boom, when we were running Evos at colleges and stuff like that, that was the reason why we told everybody not to publish any footage that they recorded at Evo. Like, that was a rule. Like, if you recorded on a camcorder footage, and yes, we didn't have camera phones back then. If you recorded footage on a camcorder, please do not put that up anywhere, because Evo needs to sell DVDs to try to break even. That was the whole goal. So Evo would, after the tournament was over, do all this production and actually produce some DVDs for people, and then the DVD sales would actually help them break even. Most of the tournaments, these even today, are still going for a lot of that, are still going through that same cycle, right? Go into massive debt and then actually try to make money back, right? Shinobi has run Climax of Night for French Bread Games, etc., etc. Yes. And he took this year off because one reason is because of money. And Blue says, as someone who does a lot of anime coverage, CEOtaku was promoted as an anime event from the start. Shinobi has run Climax of Night for French Bread Games, and he took this year off because one reason is because of money. And as much as I would like it to happen, anime exclusive tournaments are super hard to do for real. That's just really what it was. It's really true. Who brought a VCR to record matches off of an arcade machine? Did you actually do that, JP? Because I know, like, Shin JN of Level Up was one of the first people that was hooking camcorders up to arcade cabinets to record things directly. He was doing that at, like, Southern Hills Golfland, and he was helping the Evo staff do that for the Evos and stuff like that. So, okay, there you go. It was actually Shin JN, who was one of the guys, Jimmy Wynn, who helps run Level Up with Alex Valle. He was one of the first people to ever, hook up a camcorder directly to the 33-inch cabinets and stuff like that and record matches through direct feed. That's why we had direct feed match footage back in the day for something like B4 and B5. And for Evo 2002, which was still, the first Evo in, God, what year was it? 2002. Yeah, 2002 was the first Evo. And that was the reason why we actually had footage. Now, the crazy thing is, Evo 2002, we did record all the direct footage, but all of the footage came out bad and were unusable. And the DVD was actually constructed out of people's camcorder matches, which is why the Evo 2002 at UCLA is all completely camcorder footage from the DVD, because the community actually got together to give us enough matches that we could actually produce a DVD for that year, which was actually really, really, really cool. But yeah, so a lot of TOs are losing money on this stuff. And so we need more empathy and sympathy for TOs out there. We need to understand the kind of work that they're doing and a lot of the sacrifices that they have to make. Right now, before I go on, let's talk about the other side of this as well. So, am I saying that the fans are unjustified for being mad at Jebailey and stuff? Look, as a person who has a lot of empathy, I totally get it. From these players, because anime games have always been the red-headed stepchild of games like Street Fighter and Tekken and all the mainstream games like Mortal Kombat and Injustice, etc., etc. And so it's tough being an anime fan, because you're like, our games are so cool, but we're always the other game. Street Fighter always gets the last top 8 stage, all this stuff, etc., etc. We never get the limelight. And so when tournaments like a Frosty Faustings come around, like a Climax of Night come around, which again, Shinobi does just purely for the love of the game, when Jebailey promises CEOtaku to be an anime tournament, and now this year CEOtaku's including not just non-anime games, but like the daddy of non-anime games, Street Fighter 6, which is obviously 7,000 entrants at EVO large, you know, and the brand new Mortal Kombat 1 that's coming out. Like, there's gonna be some balking. Like, you're just like, what are you doing? You're taking the limelight away from our games here. CEOtaku was supposed to be a tournament for anime games. And again, if you've been a fan of these anime games, if you've been a fan of Arxis games for as long as I've been around, and as long as Guilty Gear has been a game, anime games have been fighting for legitimacy forever. There is definitely a mentality and an attitude in the anime community that they feel like that they have been trying to fight for the limelight and fight for legitimacy, because before they got popular to the level that they are now, they were always considered like, oh, only weirdos play anime games, or ooh, you play anime games. Like, it was almost kind of like an insult to people back in the day that you know, people would, you're like, I like Guilty Gear, and people were like, oh, you're one of those. You know, like that, like literally kind of happened in those days. So oh, JP? Wait, hang on a second. I'm gonna go back here and address this conversation that's going on over here. Shay says that totally makes back then selling DVDs. Oh, damn, I miss Evo DVD trailers. And then JP says, you mean the AMVs for Evo? Those were sick when I researched them. And then Shay says, yeah, highlighting big players' names like a cast of a movie, pretty cool. And JB says, the Nike commercial they emulated, my better is better than your better. Were you not on the stream before, JP? Do you know who made those DVD trailers? Do you know who actually made those DVD trailers, JP? Yes, me. I made them all. I made all those goddamn trailers, dude. So yeah, trust me, I know. Oh man, I made all those DVD trailers, damn it. I was the one that, so Tom Cannon made the first one with the Ayumi Hamasaki song Evo Evolution. And then I took it and ran with it, and I took it way too far. And so it became an inside joke at that point in time. But in any case, the anime players out there have been suffering for a long time. And, you know, with games like Dragon Ball FighterZ and Guilty Gear Strive, it feels really good for them to be in the limelight, especially like in EVO 2022, when Strive closed out EVO because it had the highest number of entrants. They actually got to end the year with Strive, and it was a big deal for them. And, you know, it's like finally the anime games are like here. We're here. We're like mainstream. We're taking over. And then you have something like CEOtaku with, you know, I mean, to be fair, Street Fighter 6 does have JP in it, who is the most anime fighting game character in the existence of Street Fighter. So, so White Lens, who subbed, thank you very much, says, I don't suppose these anime fighters include DBZ, Hyperdimension, or Gundam Wing Endless Duel. They might have side tournaments for some of those, so... yeah, 5 out of 9 out of the EVO 2022 lineup was an anime game. If you count Skullgirls as an anime, maybe. But Blanca level 2 is Blanca is anime, okay? He has Mini Faust. All right, Blanca has Mini Faust now. This is a problem. But again, like the anime community has often felt like this, right? They have always been feeling like the underdog. They have always felt like the ones that have been like, you know, shoved to the side and treated as secondary, You know, they're the filler basically, but the tournament's really about Tekken and Street Fighter and the current NRS game and et cetera, et cetera. So again, like, I get it. I as much as I say have empathy for the TOs, I have empathy for the players, the anime fans as well, because it feels like now what makes CEO Taku instead of just CEO number 2, right? Why is it just not CEO in the summer and CEO in the winter now? What is the point of why is it even called CEOtaku anymore? And so again, I get it. I get where the frustration comes from. But again, you have to see kind of the bigger picture of the whole entire thing, because if they don't add Street Fighter 6 and Mortal Kombat, especially for this year, because CEO lost a lot of money, you just might not have a tournament anymore. Like, CEOtaku might just go the way of the dodo at that point, because, like we were discussing last week, a lot of tournaments are going away. We're losing a lot of tournaments. And CEOtaku could be one coming up next, right? Because tournaments just don't make money. And it's hard. And the other thing, too, is that, you know, there was one person who tweeted out in response to Jebailey or Tong. I forgot. I think it was Jebailey, or Jebailey might have retweeted it or something. But the guy was like, I would have never gotten into Guilty Gear, or I don't remember. I think he might have said Dragon Ball or something. He said, I went to a tournament to play Street Fighter 5. I think he said he went to a previous CEOtaku or something to play Street Fighter 5, and he got introduced to those games, and now he's a big fan of those games, right? So, and a lot of the numbers were run too, that, you know, the Street Fighter 6 has a ton of crossover. A lot of the players, in fact, the players playing only Street Fighter 6 was actually a significant minority of the players that are competing in Street Fighter 6. It wasn't like Street Fighter 6 is bringing in this giant group of people who have no interest in the anime games. It was actually a pretty significant portion of the Street Fighter 6 players having crossover with other games. So, oh, there you go. So, Blue, thank you for the links over here. I should just hire Blue to be my pre-show researcher over here. So yeah, look at this. So Jebailey says Street Fighter 6 only entrants, 134, which is 27.74%. So we'll just call that a 25%. So 1/4 of the players are there only for Street Fighter 6, but for players who are playing Street Fighter 6 and anime, that's 349, aka 72.76%, right? 3/4 of the players there are playing both Street Fighter and anime. And in fact, for people only playing Street Fighter 6 or Mortal Kombat 1, like either of those, in other words, not playing any anime games, there's only 158 out of 535 players, which is 32.71%. So only 1/3 of the people there are there just for non-anime games. But you get a lot of crossover, right? You actually do get a lot of crossover. Come on, Mike, I know you're trying to be sarcastic here. TOs make too much money and get rich on high entry fees, and us poor entrants just suffer. I know you're trying to be sarcastic, but please make sure that people in the chat realize that you are being sarcastic. But yeah, so I get it from the players, but CEOtaku is still going to focus largely on the anime games. They're not losing stream time. In fact, Jebailey is spending more money. And again, adding an extra stream to stream the non-anime game so that you don't take the time away from the other streams costs a lot of money. Because you guys haven't actually been in the back where people are actually running the streams. Most of you haven't been back there and see the just gobs and gobs of hardware and just the amount of stuff that these people have to fly out to stream these stations over there costs so much money because it's just cases and cases and cases of stuff. And it's not like these cases you can pack to the brim with everything. Like 90% of these cases, I swear to God, is foam, because you can't have any of this stuff getting damaged being transported in the airplane and stuff. And so it's just like cases. Then you gotta pay the streamer, and it's not just one dude sitting there streaming. Like, each stream has got to have at least like 3 people running it, but then you got to add in the tournament runner who's going out there and trying to find the matches for you, and those 3 people, and sometimes they do this. Sometimes you see those 3 streamers sitting there literally from ballroom opens to ballroom closes, and then they're the ones who, after the tournament is over, when everybody else is like, yay, back to hotel room, where's the salty suite? They're still back there cleaning shit up for the next like 3-4 hours in the ballroom. Yeah, then the camera operators, just to get the memes that the stream monsters look for, etc., etc. Dude, for one stream costs a lot of money for a TO to add to the event. And so, you know, Jebailey making sure that he added one whole stream so that the anime games didn't lose any time, any broadcast time, is really kind of a good compromise. You know, you're not losing out on the footage of anything else. And, you know, I don't know how the schedule is. Do we have a schedule? Are they planning to run like Street Fighter 6 at the same time as Guilty Gear Strive closing out the event? Or are they actually going to try to keep them separate times and such? I don't know. But again, it's again, I get it. It sucks because, like, you have an anime event, CEOtaku. It was all geared for your genre of fighting games. And now here comes Street Fighter 6 coming in here and getting in the way. And it's just like, I understand that it feels frustrating. But again, these are particular circumstances right now, right? The way that CEO went this year, having them lose so much money. Here we go. So Sunday, yeah, so look at that. They're not even running Guilty Gear Strive at the same time as Street Fighter 6. So if we look at this image over here on Sunday, yeah, Guilty Gear Strive is still closing out the event. It's literally still closing out the event, and Street Fighter 6 ends before that. So they're still making sure Street Fighter gets the top bill. I mean, they're still making sure Guilty Gear gets the top billing in here. So, you know, he's aware. And Jebailey probably tried. I mean, he wants. The TOs aren't evil. They want to give the fans what the fans want. They do. They really, really do. It's just, in the end, everything comes down to money, right? We don't want these guys going broke and losing all of their money, basically, for this kind of situation. So it's just one of those things. You gotta kind of accept what's going on. So, unfortunately, so that's how it is at this point. So, again. It's tough because basically I'm asking for empathy on all sides of things, right? Nothing is ever as cut and dry. Nothing is ever as simple as people like to make it out to be. And so, TOs are evil, but the world and people are more evil. Yeah, one of the TOs put out the receipts 10 years ago. That was, yeah, right, Baron Spaghetti, let's fight together. Let's fight together. JP, that was John Choi. He put out the numbers for NorCal Regionals, how much it cost, and basically it showed that I think NorCal Regionals like made like $1,000, and when you consider the immense number of people who basically worked at NCR for absolutely no money whatsoever, like basically it just sucked. Yeah. So like all these people did free labor to run all this stuff, and nobody got anything for it. The TOs got nothing for it. In fact, a lot of that money probably went to John Choi treating everybody to dinners afterwards and everything like that. So, yeah, Choi has flat out said he goes severely into the red every tournament he ran. Absolutely. And that's the situation we're in. So, again, it's hard to grow. And, you know, people out there will be like, well, just get bigger sponsors. And, like, how? How do you do that? How do you do that? You don't just go, hey, big sponsor, come check out my tournament. And they'll be like, what's your impressions? What's your view count? What's your attendance numbers? And you'd be like, dude, check this out. And you show them the numbers, and they'll just look at it and just kind of laugh in your face. Because fighting games are not doing super well. Fighting game tournaments are not doing super well. And it's that time again. Ooh. Hi. Attendance numbers weak in comparison to actual cons. Yeah. So there's really no there's really no way to get bigger sponsors. Bigger sponsors don't come out of nowhere based off of potential. Bigger sponsors come to you when you are already making a lot of money and they want a piece of that money. That's where sponsors come from. Sponsors don't see a tournament and go like, this has the potential to make money. No, they're like, this tournament's making money, and some of that money should be ours. That's how shit works. You don't get sponsors just because you go and look for them. That's not how this shit works. Mwah. Hi, Nathan. Mwah. Mwah. Opportunity for a cute tournament mascot. Yeah, Nathan could be a tournament mascot. EG just let go of their Valorant team, and they let go of that Valorant team? No. They were like talking about him and bragging about him on their social media like all day. They're like, let's go EG, we bleed blue, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden they let go of the Valorant team? Are you serious? Oh my God. Stanley Cup Gramp says, I dropped the utility numbers on Jazz's podcast and said that a regular 3 MVP line is $5K and a 5 to 10 MVP is close to $10K. A 20 AMP drop is $500 to $800 each. Jesus. And JB, so El Zilcho says they look at options. Oh, yeah. 10K is a small venue. Absolutely is a small venue. Oh, I see. Not like let go, but if they stay with EG, will probably earn less. I see. So since they had won, it was probably more beneficial for them to go and shop around the market. So basically they probably left. I don't know if they left EG or whatever, but yeah, that's... Yeah, they just won and they'll get a pay cut. They just won and they would get a pay cut staying at Evil Geniuses. Like, esports teams, do they actually make money? Most of them don't. Most of them don't. In fact, they've been trying to. So that's the thing, is a lot of them are trying to do it by building brand. Like, I know Team Solo Mid has done it because they've really grew a clothing line and a product line. They've kind of built a brand around TSM, right? I know that's what they were doing for the longest time. But in terms of making money from the actual esports team, no, I don't think any of them make any money at all. So, well, yeah, Panda Global made money until the whole thing blew up because they were actually doing a good job selling the brand and all that stuff like that. So, only 100T and FaZe are up. Is that actually true? They're the only esports team that make any money? Because I know FaZe is also another one of those big brands like that as well. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing is that esports is, oh God, I've said it before. Esports is a lie, okay? Esports, like, that's why, like, I've told the story before when I went to Chile And I was talking to so many other people down there, and they're like, yeah, we just want esports to get as big as it is in the US. And I was like, oh boy, how do I break this to you? Oh man, we just want esports to be a real thing and make money for you, for us, like it is in the US. And I'm like, yeah, so funny story out there. Yeah, it's not what people promised. And that's where a lot of the problem in esports comes from, right? Is that they overpromised. Is they basically sold everybody snake oil, and when all the investors are like, you mean this is the next big thing? Esports is going to make more money than all movies? More people watched the league finals than the Super Bowl? Oh, okay, let's go in. And then you find out that 99% of those viewers are from China, and most likely a large chunk of them bots, and that these companies that invested can't make money off of a single one of those Chinese citizens, then you're like, well, what did this do, right? So literally, it's just like all they're doing is just selling snake oil. Like, that's all they're doing this whole entire time. And so that's why there's all these doom and gloom articles now about esports where they're like, my God, fighting games are succeeding where esports have failed. Look at Evo. They have Chipotle sponsors and 7,000 entrants. They're doing so great. One, we're not doing so great. But two, we're only that way because we are grassroots, because we aren't based off of venture capitalists. Evo pays for itself. Right? We are not selling snake oil. Evo has only sold what it is literally capable of. That's it. That's all Evo. Look, if you want to have a great time watching fighting games, come watch fighting games. We're not trying to tell people we're the next big thing and like this is gonna take over the world by storm. Like, we've been doing this long enough. We're just like, we're over that shit, right? So like, Chipotle is not available in my country and I want Chipotle. Yeah, basically. So again, it's going back to the original topic, being a TO sucks. You don't make money. And so cut Jebailey and Tong some slack. Look, Jebailey is a very proud guy. And I've talked to him long enough, and I've had my little squabbles with him here and there. But in the end, he's still a guy that when the Florida tournaments and when the Florida FGC got scammed by some dude who promised a big old tournament. I don't remember if he promised it was going to be on a yacht or a cruise or something, but someone actually promised this big old tournament in Florida. People registered and the guy bounced. If I have my story correct, by the way. It's something to that. It's one of the stories that has happened a billion times in the fighting game community. Some guy promises big fighting game tournament. Everyone registers. The guy disappears. All the money goes away. That happened in Florida. And Jebailey, one of the players burned by that, was like, well, yeah, well, you know what? I'm going to run my own tournament with blackjack and hooker. No, I'm just kidding. He didn't actually say that. He said, I'm going to run my own tournament. And it's just going to be a community effort here in Orlando. And he ran basically a small little gathering, I think, at like his house or somebody's house or some garage or something. And people just kind of went. And then he just kept doing it. And it got bigger and bigger. So, you know, in the end, Jebailey was doing it because he's just a fan of fighting games, because he loves fighting games, right? Yeah, exactly. Jebailey ego and everything is meme, but man puts everything in for the fighting game community. It's absolutely true, man. Like, he cares about the fighting game community, right? He's not just some guy who's here to try to make money off of the FGC. He enters CVS2 and all these tournaments all the time, and he does really well. He's a fan of fighting games. And so for that reason, you know, he's doing this because he cares. Let's just put it that way. And you don't want to chase somebody like that away. We don't want to lose the Jebaileys and the Rick Thyers and the Alex Valles and the Logan Samas in the UK who runs, Winner Stays On all the time, et cetera, et cetera. We don't want to lose the Big E's and the Shin Blancas that we're losing, right? We don't want to lose the Shinobis that are running the Climaxes of Night, et cetera, et cetera. But the truth of the matter is that running a tournament in the fighting game community very rarely pays off. And in fact, most of the time, because you're doing it out of love, you lose a fuck ton of money. You actually just lose a lot of money, okay? And so that's the thing. He refuses to scale up, but there's a good reason for that, right? There's actually a good reason for that. I think it's kind of a right thing to try to keep it up as a little local and keep it scaled down, because then you do finally run into that problem where it's starting to cost too much, right? It's starting to cost too much. Bum is also doing, yeah, exactly, Logan, because if he quit the FGC, he can make 10 times more money putting that effort elsewhere. Exactly. A lot of these guys are doing it because they really love the scene. And that's the thing. We have to appreciate these TOs and what they're doing and how much effort they're putting into this. And so, I get it. You're upset about Street Fighter 6 and MK1 being at CEOtaku. But again, like I said, the main point of this is we gotta have more empathy for the TOs. This narrative that TOs are just out there making money hand over fist is just not true. And as a result, we all got to do better. It's a team effort. CEO stands for community effort. Right? Community effort. And that's what it was born out of, honestly. That's it. So, yeah. If you actually look at Logan Sama's Winner Stays On account, and then you actually look at his Logan Sama Twitter account, the amount of followers is the DJ follower count is ginormous, okay? So, again, a lot of people, we're taking our TOs for granted. That's the way to close this episode. We're taking our TOs for granted. So please, let's have a little more empathy, be more understanding of what it is that they're trying to go through, et cetera, et cetera. So why do TOs try to get why don't TOs try to get public event grants like anime cons do in cities? Again, Moose TWT asked this question. I kind of addressed this a little bit earlier. We don't have the numbers. If you look at Anime Con, San Diego Comic-Con, these kind of things, Evo has that number. That's why Evo got a key to the city. And Jebailey was actually hoping he would have something like that with Daytona, because Daytona was like, that's awesome. This is crazy. We'll work with you. And then Daytona turned out to be a piece of shit. And Jebailey was like, what the fuck? And so, yeah, he thought that he was going to be able to get something like that, and so most of the fighting game tournaments are way too small, dude. And so there's no way the city will care. There's no way that you can go to the city and be like, hey, we're running this fighting game tournament. How many people there? Jebailey put out the numbers. There's 500 some entrants at CEOtaku. 500 people doesn't mean anything to the city. 500 visitors is barely a blip when you're talking about a city like Orlando that has Disney World and Universal Studios to attract tourism into their city. So, yeah, it's not happening that way. So again, be more sympathetic and empathetic to the TOs. Respect the TOs that we have that are putting the effort out there, because we don't want to lose them. And everybody who's ever said, I won't name names, but there was a TO that used to tell me that was like, Evo's not doing it right. Evo is not doing it right. Blah, blah, I could run a better tournament than Evo. And so he and his friend ran a tournament. And one of my friends got to the tournament at 9 a.m. when you were supposed to get to the tournament. Didn't play his first match, I think, until 10 p.m. or something like that, because they came up with a different system that was better than pools and everything. And then the tournament was an absolute clusterfuck. And after Sunday was over, one of the TOs actually walked up to me and was like, man, I have so much more respect for what the Evo guys do now. I have so much more respect. And this was early Street Fighter 4, when the tournaments weren't even that big. Okay, when the tournaments weren't even that big. And so, again, people have no idea how hard it is to actually run a tournament and how expensive it is and stuff. And so if we lose our current crop of tournament organizers, will we have people come and step into place? And again, tied in with last week's discussion, with everything working so well online, what's the impetus for them to try to run a major when they can actually do it for much less cost and maybe get just as many views on Twitch without having to rent out a giant ass expensive venue and pay $50,000 for internet for that weekend? Why would they want to do that instead of run just the event online? And so we have to support the TOs that we have. We have to trust them. We have to empathize with them. So at this point in time, as I normally do, I'm just repeating a lot of stuff at this point. So unless anybody has any other comment that they want to add into the 500 people is a Viet wedding. Oh my God. I just saw that. Oh my God. 500 people is a family reunion in the South. Oh my God. Oh, dude. In any case, unless anybody else has anything to add to this conversation, I'm going to go ahead and call it an end to this particular discussion. Again, I've got two more things to talk about over here, so we'll get to them. If you're watching this on YouTube, check it out check out these ones. They'll be uploaded a little bit later. But if you're here on Twitch, don't go anywhere. I will keep up with those. So, but again, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting my channel. Really hope that the content here that I'm producing still resonates with you and that you're still enjoying it. Trying my best to keep it up over here and keep going with this podcast every week and offer my viewpoint on a lot of topics. So again, I know, and again, sorry for starting late today, because I know you guys are chomping at the bit for this podcast to start, because for you guys, this podcast is the most important day of your life. But for me,
it was Tuesday.